What's going on, Vikings fans? You are watching Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and we got some breaking news. It is official. J.J. McCarthy will be QB1, the starter against the Detroit Lions in this Week 9 NFC North showdown. Couldn't be more excited. So we'll talk about what Kevin O'Connell had to say during his press conference today, and also Carson Wentz gave a lot of key insight on how he felt during that Thursday night game. Then I also do want to talk about the Vikings' playoff chances, even though there's some right now. Still want to dive into it on the tail half of today's show. But number 9 is back. I couldn't be more excited. Even though this Vikings season has truly felt like a season from hell, having the ability and the chance to watch a young quarterback develop is one of the most enjoyable experiences being an NFL fan. So if you guys are fired up for J.J. McCarthy being back and want to show him some love down below in the comment section, give me those 9s down below. I want to see the comment section flooded with 9s. We should probably see about 1,000 9s down below in the comments section. But KOC had this to say during his press conference, saying JJ will have a full week of preparation. He's in a really good place from a health standpoint. Now, which is obviously big because, KOC has made it crystal clear they are not going to put JJ McCarthy out there without a full week of preparation and him being a full participant, but there are no more setbacks. There's nothing else that KOC is worried about. So JJ will have a full week of practice, 110%, and he'll be out there against the Detroit Lions. And also KOC mentioned this. He said him and JJ actually went back and watched not only the Bears game from week 1, but also the Falcons game together, which, obviously I expect, head coach and your young quarterback to go back and watch a lot of game film, but I also love that they spent time this weekend just sitting down, not with the rest of the guys on this team, not with the rest of the locker room, just those two sitting down and really deciphering what went wrong, because KOC has also addressed JJ has had a lot working against him, specifically in that Falcons game. He mentioned not having Jordan Addison. He only had 1 day of practice since that Chicago game. Obviously, with him becoming a dad, he had a lot working against him there. Also, the offensive line, they were flat out terrible, but he was also very, very encouraged after going back and watching those 2 games. And, Kevin O'Connell, I will say, listening to him at this press conference, he looks very excited. And I would love for him to shut me up this weekend because, I have, for the first time since covering the Minnesota Vikings under the KOC era, have been pretty critical of him, but I also believe for right reason. Now, I'm not at the point where I'm saying, the Vikings need to fire Kevin O'Connell, yada, yada, yada. I think that's absolutely nonsense, but I also was making the point, in terms of him being on the hot seat, his seat's just a little warm because the decision to move off Sam Darnold, that falls on the head coach specifically, since he would probably have the final say in bringing him back, and a lot is riding on J.J. McCarthy. So hopefully he shuts me up. And, KOC just overall seems fired up to have J.J. back. The way he was talking in this press conference, it almost seems like, there is new life within this organization, but specifically the head coach, because Alec Lewis was saying there is some tension in the locker room, even dating back to this offseason. So clearly, everybody's a little tight, but KOC kind of seems like his old self, where he is very happy. He's very optimistic, obviously a players-friendly head coach. And it also was crystal clear, JJ is his guy. He wants to develop him, and he wants to build this long-lasting relationship where hopefully you have the franchise head coach and you have the franchise quarterback, which is something we have been talking about on the channel. If you don't have the GM, head coach, and quarterback, all 3 of those have to be home runs. You're not going to win a whole lot of playoff games. And, overall, I think J.J. McCarthy just gives this team and this whole organization a whole lot of energy because, one, he is a young quarterback in his second year. He's only played 2 games, so he is this massive unknown. And if you want to take an optimistic view or a pessimistic view, that is really just up to you. But JJ just gives a whole bunch of life because of also the personality he has. You could tell even when KOC was talking, JJ's just coming in, bringing energy every day. He loves the game of football. He is clearly a very motivated guy, and he wants to get the most out of whatever, he has. And hopefully that is being one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And you could just tell KOC, he's excited to go out there this weekend. He's excited to go to war with his young quarterback. And also Kevin O'Connell, during his press conference, he gave a whole lot of love to Carson Wentz, which, obviously he should, because he pretty much used Carson Wentz as a sacrificial lamb this past Thursday night game to protect J.J. McCarthy, to protect Max Brosmer for some whatever reason that is. I still don't really understand that, because Max Brosmer, your backup quarterback, and your starters getting their ass handed to you. I just don't know still why he didn't go to Max Brosmer, but he was getting a lot of love and respect to Carson Wentz. Just, talking about his toughness, talking about his grittiness that was on full display for, not only the coaching staff and his teammates, but us fans. I mean, we saw the TV copy. Carson Wentz was clearly going through a lot, so KOC gave him some love. But Carson Wentz also said this to the media today, saying, just being back in the role of starting meaningful football games, it's fun. I'm not going to lie, it's fun. It's what I grew up dreaming of doing and all of the things. And when you lose it for a little bit, it's hard to want to give it up. So even with the pain and all the things that I knew were going to come with it, was I wanted to play. I wanted to be out there, and I want to be helping this team however I can. And even though Carson Wentz, we could just call a spade here, he was terrible as a quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, but I got nothing but respect for him. Clearly he had a lot working against him. The Vikings' offensive line was terrible. The Vikings have the second highest sack percentage at the quarterback position this year, only to the New York Jets, and obviously we know Justin Fields, has some of the worst pocket presence in the league, but the Vikings' offensive line was flat out horrible. Wentz had a lot working against him, put his body on this line for his team, a team he grew up, rooting for and wishing he could eventually play for the Minnesota Vikings. So even though Wentz was flat out terrible as a quarterback, I still have a lot of respect for everything he went through. But he also said this on if he had a decision to, potentially, any thoughts of pulling himself out of the game. And he said, truthfully, no. I appreciate that everyone was checking on me and all the stuff. At the end of the day, coaches, trainers, no one really knows the level of pain or difficulty that I may be feeling. And I know the TV copies can show stuff that people on the sidelines don't see, but I never once felt unsafe. Now, Wentz did seem like he was in, very good spirits, which, is obviously good. Season-ending injury. He's also expecting a kid over the next couple of days. So, I am happy that he seems like he is happy. But also the part of Wentz saying, I never felt unsafe, that's a good thing. But also kind of what Wentz was saying like, oh, I'm a fighter. I'm a competitor. I'm going to want to put myself out there, no matter what and play for my teammates. I still think it falls on KOC and the training staff to eventually just protect the players from themselves. Because any player who's battling through injury, they're going to want to go out there and play. I mean, this is nothing new in the NFL in terms of players playing through injuries. It's a part of the game of football. But if you feel like the player is almost putting themselves too much in harm's way, then I think that goes back to the coach. That goes back to the training staff. And still, I believe KOC made the wrong decision. I still think he should have went to Max Brosmer. Also to the point, get Brosmer some reps. Like, I feel like that's been the most under-talked about thing about this whole Carson Wentz drama is, like, the ability to get your UDFA quarterback who looked sharp during training camp, who looked sharp during the preseason, just more reps out there in a real NFL game action. Instead, you just use Carson Wentz as a sacrificial lamb. So this whole story is behind us. Not going to talk about the Carson Wentz, whole drama saga anymore here on the channel. This is JJ McCarthy's team, and we're rolling forward with number 9. But also some injury news here. Kevin O'Connell was absolutely hilarious. I was listening to this. The last question was asked was, what's going on with Josh Oliver? And he was like, Josh Oliver kind of has an ankle sprain. Then he pretty much went on to say that he won't play this weekend, and that's also why they signed Ben Sims earlier this week. So it'll be Ben Sims, TJ Hawkinson at the tight end position. If only you got something out of that 6th-round pick you drafted, Gavin Bartholomew, but he's been hurt this entire season. So another wasted pick by Quasito from Mensa. But Josh Oliver not being out there, that's obviously a huge loss for especially the run game for the Minnesota Vikings because they are always a significantly better run team with Josh Oliver in the fold. So honestly, if I'm kind of predicting how this game is going to play out, I think KOC is going to let JJ McCarthy rip the football. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if JJ throws the ball 35, 40 times this weekend, which obviously isn't ideal, but it's a tough matchup against the Lions. They're going to be selling out in the run, and they're going to probably say, hey, JJ, Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, KOC in this deep passing game. Let's see if you guys can beat the Lions this Sunday. But speaking about the Lions game, I still am fiending for a victory over the Lions. This team has owned us. I want to get a win more than anything, especially in Detroit. And also, it would be nice for the Vikings to move to 2-0 in the division as well. So if you guys want the Vikings to beat the Lions this Sunday, hit me with those goals down below. Now, we'll dive into the latest Vikings playoff odds here in a second, but I got to give a massive, massive shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Harry's, a shaving company, and they have a beautiful new razor. And for a limited time, our listeners here at Vikings Now can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. Now, did your old razors go dull way too fast, and plus did they irritate your neck? Well, that's not the case at Harry's. And also, some other razors cost way too much, $30 for 8 refills. That sounds like a total scam to me, but that's not the case at Harry's. And I was completely blown away the first time I shaved with Harry's. Got one of the best shaves I've ever had in my life, and that's because they have an advanced pivoting system to reach every corner of your face, a refined blade tech for a closer, smoother shave, and they also have a weighted metal handle for added control and comfort. And actually, fun fact, this is Harry's heaviest handle ever. So you just have more control, and you guys can get the best shave of your life. So check them out. The link for this will be in the comment section and description of today's show. And for a limited time, our listeners can get Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. This set includes all new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, and a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer. And after you purchase, the last where you heard about them, please support our show, Vikings Now by Chat Sports, and tell them we sent you. All right, let's talk about the playoffs here. Playoffs? Why are we talking about the playoffs? The Vikings are 3-4, but they still have an outside chance, and it's obviously not looking good. And I think a lot of this comes down to J.J. McCarthy. But Ian Rappaport had this report earlier today saying he's prepared, he's ready. They believe he is going to be successful. And you kind of felt that from when Kevin O'Connell was talking today. Like, he had a confidence in J.J. McCarthy that he is fully 110% ready to go. And, if we're just talking about the Vikings' playoff chances here, like, we can just nail it on the head. Obviously, they need better performance from their offensive line and especially their defense, which has been really in the last 2 weeks. But if they want any chance to make the playoffs, like, it's coming down to number 9. And I think that, one, is completely unfair, but that's just reality of the situation. A 22-year-old quarterback making his 3rd ever career start. All the playoff chances for the Vikings will come down to this guy working out. And honestly, not just playoff chances, but like Kwesi's job, Kevin O'Connell's job. A lot rides on that right arm of J.J. McCarthy, but I also got full faith in him. Maybe he won't go out there and get a win this week against the Lions, but I got faith in him eventually developing into a franchise quarterback. But ESPN has the Vikings playoff chances sitting at 4.7%. And I think that's right. Obviously, you're 3-4 right now. You're playing in a very, very tough conference and a very tough division specifically, where you still have 5 division games left. And also the Vikings schedule, like, there is not a gimme left on the schedule. Like, you're in Detroit this weekend. That's obviously one of the toughest matchups in the league, one playing in Detroit alone, but also the Lions coming off a bye week. That's going to be tough. The Ravens, they're a team that is playing with their hair on fire right now, trying to win the AFC North after starting off 1-5. Then you got the Bears at home. That's probably your easiest game left, but still a divisional matchup against the Bears team, who is probably going to be incredibly motivated to right that wrong of that loss during Week 1. Then you're on the road in Lambeau, taking on the Green Bay Packers. They're one of the best teams in the National Football League. Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks. I'm sure Vikings fans won't overreact at all to that game, but Seattle's one of the best teams in the league. Then you got the Commanders at home. That's going to be a tough matchup. The Cowboys on the road, going against one of the best offenses in the league, led by Dak Prescott. And then you still got the Giants, even though they're beat up. They might not be a good football team, but they still got a great defensive line. And anytime you're playing on the road, that's tough. And then you end off the season at home against the Lions and at home against the Packers. Like, the Vikings are definitely fighting an uphill battle here. Like, there is no doubt about it. They are put themselves behind the 8 ball here, starting off the season 3-4. It's not looking like any real chance of them making the playoffs. But if you could just somehow get the 4-4, and then you got the Ravens the following week, if you could somehow win that game, get it back above 500, and you're sitting at 5-4 with the Bears at home, and then, anything can happen. But I just think the NFC is just way too tough this year. You're probably going to have to somehow scrap together and get the 10 wins, which means you're probably going to have to go 7-3 over your last 10 games. And with that schedule, if the Vikings go 7-3, it might be Kevin O'Connell's best performance as a head coach so far with the Minnesota Vikings. So I'll ask you guys this. Don't want to be a negative Nancy, but I'm going to probably say no to this question. But maybe you guys disagree with me. Maybe you're drinking a little purple Kool-Aid. Will the Vikings make the playoffs? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. We'll get on out of here. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.